Sports. We are the Force. We are Florida.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Miami. The Arizona Diamondbacks in town to kickstart a 3-opponent homestand. My, oh my, the road wasn't all that rude to the Marlins. In fact, they come home 5-4 from their 9-game road trip, and the roof is open for a record 16th time in 2018. First of a 4-game set between these two teams. Archie Bradley, certainly one of the most dominant bullpen arms in baseball. In fact, we'll see 2 of those throughout this series. Of course, the Marlins possessing Kyle Bearclaw inside the broadcast booth, Paul Severino and Todd Hollandsworth. Well, the last time we saw the Arizona Diamondbacks was in Phoenix, and they were starting to get right. They ended up sweeping the Marlins, and at the end of that series, the Marlins had lost 6 straight games. Since then, the Marlins 11-8, and oh, by the way, the D-backs have come to life.
Well, maybe you go back to that series at the beginning of June and say it was a wake-up call for both teams. I think that's kind of the way that I see it, maybe on the negative side for the Marlins, because they weren't playing good baseball, and they were outscored 21-4 in Phoenix. And I'll tell you what, they played better against the Diamondbacks here, and if they can get them to play Marlins baseball, I think there's a good chance they'll take it to the Diamondbacks over these next 4 games.
Yeah, it'll be fun to dive into those numbers home against the Arizona Diamondbacks for the Marlins. Now, in terms of individual players, Paul Goldschmidt always seems to be in that MVP discussion, and when we saw him in June, we're wondering, where is Goldie? Well, in the last 17 games, he's back.
Right. I mean, you know, some people get hot, you know, like humanly hot, and then you've got Goldschmidt hot. I think it's another level, right? He's making up for lost time. 9 home runs, 21 RBIs, last 17 games. That's right, people. It's not 37 games. That's 17 games.
Right.
So he is making up for lost time, and he is a huge reason why this Diamondback roster team has been winning baseball games. The pitching's really been there for him all season long. They had to get that offense in gear, and he's their main cog.
Well, if he's a special kind of hot, I'd love to see how you characterize Derek Dietrich, because his last month has been amazing.
As long as it doesn't bounce right now, he's got a chance at a hit. That's where I'm going with it. Dietrich has been that kind of hot, front foot down, seeing the ball well. Listen, I said this about, I think it was Crawford a couple weeks ago from the Giants. Had come off a huge start against Scherzer. 2 hits down the left field line, a home run, and a base hit to the pull side. So that's where Dietrich was yesterday in his 4 hits. He had an outstanding series in Colorado. 8 hits. He's been one of the best hitters in all of baseball of late, and he is really igniting this lineup from the top spot.
Absolutely. Home runs in 3 straight games. Can he make it 4? Can the Marlins make it 3 in a row? They kickstart this 4-game set, and we'll give you the latest on the rotation, which with Caleb Smith and Jose Urena on the DL has a little bit of a different look. Maybe without Straley, too. We're back in a moment. D-backs and Marlins moments away. Dan Straley on the mound tonight. May miss some time with a suspension coming up. For more on the entire rotation, out to center field, Craig and Nelly.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, a lot of question marks around the rotation now with the situation with Smith, Arania, and Straley looming. Let's show you the roster move first for the Marlins. As we expected with Caleb Smith going to the DL, the Marlins don't have to solve their starting issue until next Friday, so they'll be able to use Ben Meyer, who could be an option to start as well, but he'll be here for at least the early part of this week. Nelly, how does it all shake? You got the Arania situation and also the situation with Smith, and they're looking at that with an MRI.
Well, Urania's spot is up tomorrow, and that's going to go to Eliezer Hernandez. That's if he's not needed tonight for some odd reason. After that, then you're going to need a starter for Friday and possibly Saturday as well. Friday is going to be Smith's. You could go Ruzinski, who threw 44 pitches yesterday in Colorado. You could go to Mayer. You could go to Graves. I would say that Straley, after tonight's start, he'll drop his appeal and wind up serving that, and that means Mattingly will serve his suspension as well starting tomorrow. Then all of a sudden then he becomes that starter on Sunday. They do have some options in the minor leagues. They can bring up Garcia. They could bring up Peters. If you want to see some of the young guys, Alcantara or maybe a Lopez, I would doubt it. But hey, everybody's waiting to see it. There are options, but it's a little bit iffy. Urania, I would say he's probably on track right now to only miss those 10 days. And once he comes off the DL, he'll resume his spot in that rotation. You never like to see this. Everybody's holding their breath for Smith. I'm holding my breath. Yeah. Heck, this guy's been one heck of a rookie so far at this start of the year, and I don't ever want to see anybody come out with any kind of arm injury, especially a shoulder injury.
Taking an MRI today. We may get news during the game or after the game on Smith and how that MRI went, but the Marlins are going to lean on some of their increased roster and development of the pitchers down at AAA and to a right here to fill a couple of those spots at the end of the week. All right, ball game coming up. It's game one of this 4-game series. It's next on Fox Sports Florida.
Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By WB Mason. Who but WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. Chevrolet, see your South Florida dealer today. And by your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. A beautiful night here in Miami to kickstart this 10-game homestand, starting with the D-backs for 4. Dan Straley on the mound. Last time we saw him, didn't see him for very long. More on that in just a bit. But first, your Diamondbacks lineup presented to you by Southwest. When we last saw them at the beginning of the month, this man right here, John Jay, a Miami native, was not part of the club. traded over from the Kansas City Royals. He leads off. Paul Goldschmidt hits second. He's been red hot. Daniel Descalso in the 4 spot. Ketel Marte, who had 5 hits in the 3-game series, and most of them for extra bases. He will hit right behind Descalso, number 5. So we are just about set for baseball. Miguel Rojas in on the grass, expecting the bunt from John Jay, who takes the first pitch a little low for ball 1. So Dan Straley, blinking, you might have missed him last time out, only lasted an inning and a third.
Well, that's because he lost a fastball inside to Buster Posey after warnings had been issued and was promptly told to leave the ball game. That's the only reason you saw those 4 outs. So say what you will about it, but Dan is well rested, no doubt about it, making his 11th start of the season. His numbers are a little bit skewed. Outstanding May, 2.93 ERA. June, not so much, 7.53. The one thing for me that really needs to
Looper to Riddle at short.
Out number 1 really needs to start to happen for Dan. Is pitching well here at Marlins Park. Last year was outstanding. 5 wins, 3.57 ERA. This year he's got a 6.62. 4 starts. He starts to pitch better at home. That ERA will drop.
So he hit Buster Posey. He has been suspended 5 games. He is currently appealing that suspension. Whatever happens with that, he and Don Mattingly will serve their suspensions concurrently. Mattingly will serve a 1-game suspension. And again, Straley waiting to hear from the league. Here is Paul Goldschmidt now, who offers it the first pitch, sends it out to center field in his tracks. Lewis Brinson for out number 2.
Yeah, let's get you the Marlins defensively before we get to that third out here in the first. Dietrich gets the start in left, Brinson in center, Anderson in right, Rojas back in there today over at third base, Riddle, Castro, Bohr, and Holiday behind the plate along with Dan Straley.
Day off for JT Realmuto when he was behind the plate yesterday afternoon in Colorado. Late in the ball game, took a foul ball off the wrist. And in his last at-bat of the day, felt a little something, so Don Mattingly deciding to give JT the day off. So Holiday behind the plate to catch Straley. Here is Jake Lamb, 2 for 6, a home run and an RBI. 9 home runs for the Diamondbacks in the series against the Marlins back in Arizona at the beginning of this month. And as we said before, 2 teams basically going into that series and then following that, kind of going in different directions. Lamb with a drive out to right field, and that one is gone. A home run for Jake Lamb. And again, as has been the case for the Diamondbacks, they score early in ball games.
Yeah, they sure do. Well, we hardly could get to it. We thought that Straley was going to get through this first inning unharmed. Well, since June 18th, the Arizona Diamondbacks have now scored 11 runs in the first inning. Yeah, that's just over the last week. That is tops in baseball. Let's give you another look. Fastball in, 2-seamer. Didn't quite get back. Came back maybe a little bit too much to that inside part. Tell you what, right now, Lamb gets all barrel on it, keeps it fair. More look from the side. See the extension, no doubter into the upper deck.
For Lamb, his 6th homer of the season. Daniel Descalso fouls one back. Yeah, 3rd in baseball entering the day with 55 first inning runs behind the Rockies at 69 and the Cleveland Indians with 57.
Well, the thing that's been so crazy about the run that they've been on, and we've told you about the 16-6 record in the month of June, is the fact that in 9 of their last 13 ball games, they've scored in the first inning. It's not like they had a big, and of course there is a big one in there. I think they scored 6 runs about a week or so ago at home. But the point is, they're doing it consistently. They're getting out and pitching with the lead. They're 9-1 in their last 10 road games.
In fact, they led by Torey Lovello, you just saw right there. They swept a 4-game series from the Pirates prior to coming to Miami. The last stop on their 3-city road trip. They started against the Angels, a couple of games there, split 2, and then the 4 against the Pirates. Quite the turnaround last year for Lovello and the Diamondbacks in his first year at the helm. A 24-game improvement 2016 to 2017. Scalzo leaves that one alone. The count runs full, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, well, many people around the Diamondbacks really do believe that this team's only going to get better this year. They're just starting now to get their team back and healthy, as we're going to find out in the bottom of the inning.
With Shelby Miller coming back, they will get Robbie Ray back on Wednesday, it sounds like. They also have already had Patrick Corbin, who is coming off a 12 strikeout performance with no walks against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Zach Greinke, while not necessarily on his Cy Young kind of pace that he has been on in years past, still very good. They are without Taijuan Walker for the year. Lifted down the left field line, but this one will get into the crowd. Still 3-2.
Well, they're also waiting on one of the bigger cogs in their offense, and A.J. Pollock as well. Still been out. Got off to a fantastic start. I believe he broke a bone in his thumb. Yeah, broken thumb. Going to get him back at some point. He is a huge part of what they do.
In the air towards second base, this is going to be Castro for the final out of the first inning. But a home run from Lamb as the D-backs up. On top 1-0. The Marlins coming to bat here in the bottom of the first inning. Their starting lineup presented to you by Southwest. One of the hottest hitters in baseball over the course of the last month is Derek Dietrich. He leads things off. How about a 21-game on-base streak for Brian Anderson? He'll hit second. Justin Bohr and Starlin Castro in the 3 and 4 spots today. Trying to get some early offense back against Shelby Miller, who is making his first start since April of last year. Made 4 starts last year, but then back from Tommy John surgery tonight.
Well, you see the career numbers. He's now 27 years old. He's a big guy, 6'3", 225 pounds. Originally drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in the first round, going all the way back to 2009.
His first pitch, a little low to Derek Dietrich. The home runs in 3 straight games for him. First time in his career that he has done that. Over the course of his last 4 games, 10 for 15.
Those 11 home runs, a career high for a half. Still plenty of time before the All-Star break to improve upon that. He's been about as hot as he's probably ever been in his career. For 13 in Colorado with 3 home runs.
2-0 from Miller. He's fouled straight back. So he left his start last April 23rd. Right forearm tightness. Tommy John surgery a few weeks later. And back again and trying to get back to a certain form that he had with the Cardinals and with the Braves. But right now, I'm sure, just happy to be back on a big league mound. Here, Dietrich immediately talking to the home plate umpire, Adam Hamari, telling him that it was in.
Well, would you argue with somebody who's as hot as Dietrich is right now where you see that pitch?
Nor would I argue with the graphic. 2-2. This is out to left center field, and John Jay is there for the first out.
All right, let's get you that Auto Nation scouting report of Shelby Miller and what we know. What is Shelby Miller? Well, as Paul mentioned, Tommy John surgery, 4 starts into 2017. He was shut down, making his first start tonight of 2018. It's been 428 days between starts. Well, it was Shelby Miller. Really, he was a one-time super prospect, no doubt about it. Won 26 games as a Cardinal with a low 3 ERA. Dominated for a season in Atlanta, then was traded to the Diamondbacks where, went all downhill from there. The word flop was thrown around, especially after that big trade. 12 losses, 6.15 ERA that first season with the Diamondbacks. The question is, what will be? Command is the biggest question tonight. Through some of the reports that I've seen in the minor leagues, his rehab, good fastball, good breaking ball. The command is the one thing that he's talked about, but interestingly enough, command is the one thing that was his issue if you go all the way back to 2016. So keep an eye on that tonight. 4-seam fastball, sinker, cutter, and curveball. See how much he throws that breaking ball tonight.
Ball and strike to Brian Anderson, who fouls it straight back to the screen. A 21-game on-base streak for Brian Anderson, hitting .326 with a .398 on-base percentage in that span. 4 for 11 in the series with an RBI against the Diamondbacks at the beginning of this month. Miller rocks and fires as this one is shot down the right field line, and it stays 1-2.
I would expect that tonight we'll see Miller probably stay quite deliberate in his sequencing. I don't know how much he'll get away from it, how much he'll pitch backwards. It's bold enough to start hitters off with a breaking ball or even the cutter and work backwards a bit. I would anticipate it's going to be pretty straightforward. There's a pretty good look at that slider. Cutter, if you will. Before the arm injury, this was a very big pitch for him. His main secondary pitch. By definition, a ground ball pitcher.
That is a called strike 3.
All right, let's get you the Diamondbacks defensively before we get too worked up over the strike zone. Now Jay gets the start in left field. Dyson at center. Owings in right. Lamb, Marte. Descalzo making the start at second base. Goldschmidt over at first. Mathis, 3.04 catcher's ERA. That's tied for lowest in the National League. Big reason why he's back there tonight. Miller on the mound. Good defense for the Diamondbacks. 27 errors. It's fewest in Major League Baseball.
Justin Bohr taking ball 1. Bohr 2 for 4 yesterday, a couple of RBIs and yet another walk. And it was 7 for 30 with 3 runs scored, 2 home runs and 7 RBIs through Baltimore, San Francisco, and Colorado.
Well, if you want to know what Shelby Miller was and is, this would be the guy to ask. He's got some history with Miller. 4 for 8 in his career with a home run.
Seems like what will be of the strike zone today is a little
Questionable.
bit of room off that inside corner to lefties, as we saw with Dietrich. That's where strike 3 was to the righty Anderson, and the first pitch, or the first strike rather, to Justin Bohr. So adjusting to Adam Hamari's strike zone tonight. Phil Cuzzi, the umpire, at first. Dan Bellino at second, and the crew chief Tom Hallion is at third.
Marlin Jeff Mathis behind the plate, certainly known for his pitch framing, and we've seen a pretty good job of it here in the first inning. Being able to steal a couple of strikes.
Much like the Rockies that we just saw, the Diamondbacks carry 3 catchers on their roster. Full count to Bohr. And in fact, Mathis has started this being the third of the last 4 games. We also have John Ryan Murphy, who's been on fire with the home run ball, and Alex Avila, who they signed to a 2-year contract, or whom rather, is just in the last week or so maybe starting to come up with some big hits. Kind of like this one from Bohr to right center field. It's a homer to right center. And Bohr has tied the game.
You know what's amazing, Paul? When you start to get a pitch in a certain spot and you say, you know what, we're getting a couple inches there, you tend to go there an awful lot. Well, the Diamondbacks went there one too many times. And what ends up happening is you go in, as a hitter you start to look in, and then you react. And you do what JB just did.
The home run for Bohr is 13th of the season. And it ties this game at 1 here in the first.
Mathis trying to get that 2-seamer back to that inside corner, maybe steal an inch or two. They tried on the 2-2 pitch and the 3-2 pitch. I'm not kidding. Listen, that's how hitters think right there. Boy, he's getting a little space in there. They're going in there to try to get a little bit more. I'm going to look in there. Certainly did and got it. Watch from behind. Siree. 9th home run at Marlins Park this season for the big man. 418 feet, 104 miles an hour off the bat.
Hashtag JB for 1B. We want to try to get him to the All-Star game, which is coming up in a few weeks in Washington, D.C. Vote 5 times a day, up to 35 times for any of your favorite Marlins position players. Leave the pitchers up to the coaches and managers in the National League. They'll take care of it. They'll get Kyle Barraclough there. I trust him. First half, he's having more on that in a little bit. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Starlin Castro, who was 4 for 13 in the series against Arizona. But overall, in the month of June, it's been a little bit of a rough go for Starlin. Right field. This is Owings to make the catch. Both teams homer in the first. One from Lamb and one from JB is 13th, even at 1.
Yes.
Home run from Jake Lamb for the Diamondbacks. A home run from Justin Bohr. And Ketel Marte will lead things off. Bohr's home run into right center. Off of Shelby Miller, back off the disabled list tonight. And Dan Straley's first pitch to, or second pitch rather, to Marte. Gets the outside corner, a ball and a strike. 5 for 9, couple of home runs, 4 RBIs. He had triples, he had doubles, he had homers. Ketel Marte had himself a very nice series against Miami in Arizona.
I think in a lot of ways we felt like many of the Diamondbacks started to get their offensive game going in that series, in that 3-game series in which they swept the Marlins.
They've broken his bat on the ground ball to second.
Looking at some history over the last couple of seasons between these two teams, I found it very interesting that the Marlins have played, well, I'll just cut to the chase, horrible in Phoenix. Not
That's
good.
fair, sure.
Numbers are not good. But at home, they've played tremendous against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So again, we made up a lot about what happened in Arizona at the beginning of this month against this team. History tells us since 2016, the Marlins are 6-1 against this Diamondbacks team at Marlins Park. Team ERA of 2.86, bullpen ERA of 0.75. I can see that happening in this 4-game series.
Absolutely. The way a number of the Marlins reliever arms have been going as of late. Ball and a strike to Chris Owings. He's currently 1 for 9 with an RBI on the road trip for the Arizona Diamondbacks. One of their hot bats right now, David Peralta, not in the lineup. Much like the Marlins right now, who are, I believe it's day 4 of a 20-day stretch, 20 games in 20 days. The Diamondbacks in a lengthy stretch too, so Torey Lovullo doing all he can to keep his guys as fresh as possible. So no Peralta today. That one is foul. Miggy waits for it to roll that way, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. And in this day and age of baseball, I'm not sure the right way to say this, but 20 years ago, it might be a little easier to play every day than it is now. So it's important that the managers and the coaching staffs kind of understand when is the right time to give this guy a day, that guy a day.
Well, it's just kind of the way the game operates. I think it was 20 years ago expected to be that way. You signed up, you were a starter, you played 145, 150 ball games, you took 11 off. That was what you signed up for. Today's day and age, it's a little bit more down the middle. That is going to catch him. I think that was his changeup. Owings makes his way to first base. Circle change out of his hand, up and in. Just nicks the uniform of Owings.
So the speedster Gerard Dyson will step in. 4 for 21 on the road trip. Miggy in on the grass at third as that one is fouled off back to the netting. Dyson getting the increased playing time in center field after the injury to A.J. Pollock.
Well, even though it's a bit of a step down offensively, Dyson a tremendous defensive center fielder. Great speed, great instincts. He's been getting on base at a pretty regular clip. Last 21 games, 13 hits, 13 walks. The way Goldschmidt's been rolling, and Peralta, in all honesty, any lost offense has been made up by those two individuals really over the last month.
And when this man gets on base, he will run. One of 3 players with 20 or more steals in each season since 2012, along with Elvis Andrus and Jose Altuve. Trying to keep Owings close to keep him from running over at first base. Already 13 steals this year for Gerard Dyson.
Yeah, very active lineup. They like to move guys around on the bases. They will hit and run. They will bunt.
On the move, and that one through what was a bit of a vacated left side. It was Riddle who was heading over to second base to cover with Owings on the move, and now it's first and third.
Well, a hit by pitch and a slap hit with a runner in motion has got the Diamondbacks looking to score again. And circle change. See, Dyson does a pretty decent job with his head on that changeup. A lot of times what she'll do is kind of pull off. He doesn't. He stays on it, goes with it. He'll pick up a base hit through the hole on the left side.
So Straley, little trouble here first and third, but a ground ball away from getting out of this as Jeff Mathis will step in.
Oh, very interesting dynamic. Holiday 9 for his last 9 throwing out base stealers. Dyson 13 for 16 on the season. My guess is they'll probably stare at each other for this entire at bat.
Mathis usually gets the starts with Zach Greinke, but getting the start tonight, as Holly mentioned, his very good pitcher ERA or catcher ERA. Not really sure how to characterize that stat, but I think you get it. The pitchers on the mound pitch well when he's behind the plate. But that paired with Shelby Miller coming back, they just want to kind of give Shelby Miller everything possible they can to have him feel comfortable. So the defensive-minded Mathis behind the plate. Right now up in a big spot as they check on third. Owings is back. Was that so much to try to get Owings as it was to maybe bait Dyson into running to second base?
No, I don't think so. I think they were just really trying to put the Diamondbacks on point. We're paying attention. We know what's going on. Of course, this is a play that's worked over at third a couple of times this season, but again, a lot of times it's just giving the effort to show the Diamondbacks that you are paying attention to what's going on out there. A lot of times base stealing, very much an art, but it is the opportunity of taking advantage of a pitcher who's thinking too much or a defense that's, maybe on its heels a little bit. In this situation right here, the Marlins have been on their toes really all season long. Bone won't have it any other way. Perry Hill.
Ball and 2 strikes now to Jeff Mathis. Owings at third, Dyson at first. They keep him close.
Yeah, if the pitcher shows attention to a base runner, you usually don't get max lead. Only your elite base runners are willing to kind of give you that. So far, the Marlins have been able to do that. Dyson not getting a huge lead over at first.
Second time this year that Straley has faced the D-backs. He got that start on June 3rd, the last of that 3-game series. Marlins had lost their 6 in a row then. Straley cruised through the first 4 innings, walked 3 batters in the 5th. Defense didn't help him out too much that day. Dyson goes from first, Mathis with a line drive, and that one into left center field. All the way to third goes Dyson on the RBI base hit by Mathis. 2-1 Arizona.
Well, back-to-back base hits with runners in motion for the Diamondbacks keeps this inning moving. Keeps this Diamondback lineup scoring runs early in ball games. Told you what they've been doing, how they've been setting themselves up this entire month. See Dyson off. It's a hanging breaking ball up at the top of the zone. He lines it into left center field. Dietrich, nice job cutting it off, but again, first and third. First career hit for Mathis against the Marlins, his former team.
Shelby Miller takes a called strike. Miller, the beneficiary of a couple of runs, one on the home run by Lamb in the first, and his battery mate Jeff Mathis helping him out a moment ago. First and third, one out, one in. And Straley trying to retire his counterpart, Shelby Miller. Already up to 33 pitches here with just one out in the second inning. That one misses outside, 1-2. Straley's last three starts compared to his previous four, completely opposite directions. His first four starts, or at least four of these seven that I'm referring to, at a 2.35 ERA. Last three starts at 9.90.
A big part of that's not that, you know, the total idea of putting hitters away. I mean, you look at how his pitch count goes up inside of the innings, and it's really kind of the issue. Even going back to say that the Diamondbacks started walked 5 guys, and you know, sometimes you're walking hitters because you're off the plate and you're missing your spot. Sometimes you walk hitters because they fouled off 4 pitches and then you eventually miss. There's a difference. I think Dan's kind of suffered from the latter. He's had his moments where he's been a little bit wild, but let's be honest, putting the hitters away has been more of the issue.
Well, his last time out, again, didn't last long. It was an inning and a third before he was ejected from the ballgame. But exit velocities on balls in play: 104.2, 104.9 on a home run, 113.9, 93 on a flyout, 102.6, 103.7. Now this one lifted out to left field. Dyson with great speed at third. Here's the throw from Dietrich. Not in time. A sac fly for Shelby Miller. And the Diamondbacks have a 3-1 lead.
Get an exclusive Billy the Marlin pool float presented by AutoNation when you enter the ballpark on Saturday as the Marlins take on the Mets. Purchase your tickets today at marlins.com/tickets.
You've already claimed one, right?
I have.
So I got to get my hands on one too.
Just be very careful with the nose. It's sharp.
It's a pointy nose. Yeah. Gotcha. John Jay takes ball one. So what did you make of the high exit velocities last time out against the Giants?
Well, I think it kind of explains where Dan is at right now. He kind of goes, and I saw a little bit of this last year, you know, periods where, you know, the misses he's made to pay for. If he misses out over the plate, I mean, he can get hit hard. When he's on the edges, much like that backup slider right there, I mean, he could be as good and as nasty as anybody in the game when he's got his A+ stuff going. I mean, his numbers just speak to inconsistency. How good was May? Fantastic. 2.93 ERA. He's going 5+ every time out. Get to June, ERA up over 7. 5 innings or more, 1 out of the 4 starts. You see the pitch total right now. We're in the second innings at 40. Part of what's been going on are the misses have been misses where I call them easy takes from the hitter's perspective. They're so far off the plate you don't even consider swinging at them. And then the borderline pitches have been fouled off.
He gets Jay to chase that one low and in. 2-run score for the Diamondbacks. An RBI hit from the catcher and a sac fly from the pitcher. 3-1. Telecast is presented by authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Shelby Miller, first start back off the disabled list from Tommy John surgery with a 3-1 lead heading to the last of the second inning. It's JT Riddle, Miguel Rojas, and Lewis Brinson up for the Marlins. First pitch to Riddle is in there for a called strike. Riddle over the road trip, 6 for 26. A couple of doubles, a triple, 4 RBIs. Was 1 for 5 yesterday. The Marlins won the second and third games of a 3-game series in Colorado to finish off a 5-4 road trip. Left field, but into the seats. 1-2. On the road trip prior to this last one, that was when we saw the Arizona Diamondbacks. And after being swept by Arizona, the Marlins from then till now have won 11 of 19 games, so 3 games over 500. Yeah. We've been asked by a lot of different people, how do you think the Marlins are doing compared to what the expectations were? And from where I sit, Holly, I'll get your thoughts. I think that certainly at times they've exceeded them.
I like talking about June.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's, I kind of hone in on that. I think that, you go back to that Arizona series, and it was interestingly enough, a kind of a moment for both of these ball clubs that are playing here tonight.
Did not go, says
check the swing.
Tom Hallion.
You go back to where the Diamondbacks were. They were struggling out of May. They kind of got their act together against the Marlins, no doubt about it. But the Marlins, again, a wake-up call, moved on and started playing good baseball, as if that series itself kind of woke them up. Like Don Mattingly, we got to play better baseball than we're playing right now. I want the defense cleaned up. I want the base running cleaned up. I want a little better approach at home plate. Those things started to happen. How about the bullpen this month?
Lights out.
Yeah.
Lights out.
Oh, and I documented over the series in Colorado how good the offense has been. The batting average for the Marlins has increased by about 10 to 15 points every month. I mean, they're up near 250 here in June. Battle back. I mean, we know their way. Generally speaking, they can get some early runs, so they can compete and keep it close late. They've got a very good chance. But right now, the bullpen's doing a fantastic job. And they're looking for some big hits late. Just like yesterday. I think yesterday was a pretty good example of that as well.
2-2 to Riddle. Low, 3-2. Yeah, even the day before. I mean, you don't often get those types of games, those low-scoring pitchers duel type games in Arizona, or in Colorado rather. But late in the ball game, a 5-run 7th inning, a grand slam from JT Realmuto as JT Riddle takes the leadoff walk here in the second. First walk issued by Miller. Bring up Miguel Rojas. Kind of a weird 10 days or so for Miggy. Of course, was hit by the pitch on a Friday night in Baltimore and didn't play the Saturday, didn't play the Sunday, a couple of days off, and then played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and even Thursday was the off day, even Friday San Francisco, and then Friday in Colorado. But then the last couple of days, the swelling, the inflammation, a little bit of the soreness back, and he had to sit out a few days. I mean, he got smoked on the hand, and the ball came up and got him in the face. I mean, that was a 2-for-1.
Yeah, that was tough to watch. Miggy wants to be out there every day. Had to walk off. In fact, walked off almost instantaneously after experiencing that.
And then this was just in between innings just now, and trying to keep it wrapped, keep it tight, keep it flexible, whatever you want to, however a professional athlete keeps himself in tip-top shape. And the key of it is that it had to kill him to take the days off, because the bat's been starting to come to life.
Well, that's right. If he needed heat.
Off-balance throw by Mathis on a ball that didn't get too far away, but heads-up base running by Riddle is in the second.
Well, we were just talking about this around the batting cage today. Not directly with JT Riddle, but these types of things that the Marlins have done so much better this month. How about JT Riddle anticipating the ball in the dirt? As soon as that ball left his hand, he was already out of first base on his way to second. Great job anticipating that ball getting away from Mathis and the ability to take the extra base.
So he's in scoring position on the wild pitch, and it's a ball and a strike to Rojas. Takes a called strike at the bottom of the zone. So again, no matter what the hand injuries and the days off and all that stuff wrapped up together, still 9 for 16 on the road trip. 4 runs scored, 4 RBIs. Had the huge hit that gave the Marlins the lead in San Francisco in that wild back and forth game a week ago. So again, it had to kill him. The pain had to kill him to not be in the lineup.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Coors Field swinging the bat well. Opportunity to kind of keep things going. He really slumped in the month of May.
That one spiked again.
You know, and this may be part of what we would chalk up to command issues coming back from Tommy John surgery. We've seen Miller a number of times put this curveball, well out in front of home plate. Kind of said before today's game that it was part of the process. Didn't expect himself to come out here and be perfect tonight. And right now, Marlins have done a nice job of making him work.
2-2 now to Rojas. Chopped up the middle. That's Descalso. But a productive out gets Riddle to third base with 1 away. So again, for Miller, we talked about what was and what is, and he was very effective. 2012, 2015, that's with the Cardinals and the Braves.
Right.
And then 2016 and 17. Well, not so much.
He was like the hottest ticket there at the end with the Braves, because he was a 17-game loser with a 3 ERA, and people around baseball were like, "Oh man, get your hands on Shelby Miller. I think you can get him from the Braves." And it was like his name was popping up in every market around baseball. Diamondbacks ultimately traded for him, and that ERA just blew up. The only thing, and again, didn't see him every day, obviously, as a Diamondback. One thing that I've noticed is different. He doesn't throw a sinker nearly as much. That's the one pitch that he threw as a Diamondback, or excuse me, that he threw as a Cardinal and a Brave, but doesn't throw nearly as much as a Diamondback. He throws the 2-seamer, but not the sinker. It's a little bit different.
And the Diamondbacks wanted him so badly they traded Dansby Swanson, who was the first overall pick, right in front of home plate. Fair ball. Mathis freezes Riddle as that ball just stuck in the ground in front of home plate. Brinson's retired for the second out.
Wow.
Yep.
6 inches. Mathis does a nice job. He pounces out, checks the runner, and then a strong throw.
Now Brian Holiday. Marlins got the leadoff walk. Ground out in that little tapper in front of home plate, trying to get Riddle home. Close this 2-run gap early in the ballgame.
Holiday's been heating up a little bit, getting a little bit more playing time. 4 hits in his last 3 starts, and actually a 3-game hitting streak, in fact.
You know, I meant to say it. It was Saturday when Trevor Richards was dealing that day. It was Holiday behind the plate. I mean, it's not like Trevor Richards has a million big league starts, and it's not like Coors Field is an easy place to pitch. I think seeing and we talked about it 1,000 times in Colorado, sometimes the breaking balls there with the elements doesn't have the same shape that you're used to. So it was a lot of fastball changeup and a lot of, back and forth between Richards and Holiday to try to read the bats and keep the Rockies off balance. They did a terrific job.
I agree. Sometimes your catcher, your battery mate, he'll force you to do things that maybe you're not ready to do. And certainly no Richards trusts Holiday. Very good track record as a defensive catcher. Done a fantastic job this season. In fact, all of the catchers have done a great job. Schneider keeping everybody ready. Not only throwing out runners, but making improvements. Nice job fouling off that 96, borderline pitch on the outside edge.
Not an easy job to be the backup to, sure, I'll say it, the best catcher in baseball, JT Realmuto. And it's the statistics that would back me up. Made that and missed. And they'll throw down to first to complete the strikeout. Marlins strand a runner in the second. We head to the third, 3-1. It for the Marlins as we head to the top of the third. Can I just say that again? Back here in Miami, nice to be home, because boy, oh boy, the last month or so has been a lot of games away from Marlins Park. Our Toyota Inside Look shows us that the Marlins have traveled the third most miles. Boston Red Sox, a little over 22.8. The Mariners, who are always near the top of the league, and the Marlins at 22,063 miles thus far. But things are going to even out quite a bit.
Well, it's good to lead the National League in something.
That's true.
Love it.
It's very true. But a 10-game homestand that starts tonight.
Well, much like they've done on the road in June, playing so many games, 25 of their last 35, and playing well, I might add. To see Dan Straley and company get things going here at Marlins Park.
Got Paul Goldschmidt, who has certainly gotten things started the last few weeks, maybe even month or so. He flew out to center field in the first inning.
It's a bit of an understatement.
Yep.
Well, throw these out real quick since he swung at the first pitch his first time up, down 0-2 now. Goldie, in the month of June, these are ranks in Major League Baseball. Runs, hits, extra base hits, no, check that. Home runs, slugging percentage, and OPS. He is first in all of baseball.
Just in the damage he's done in the month of June.
Sorry, I didn't highlight the other one. Average, 393. My bad. Yeah, that's just in the month of June. I mean, you kind of get back to the Diamondback story and why they're playing so well. The pitching has maintained its consistency even through the horrible May. What really happened to them in May? They stopped hitting.
Line drive, base hit. Boy, It is just jumping off of Goldschmidt's bat right about now. Second game of this 4-game series tomorrow night. Zach Godley goes for the Diamondbacks. Eliezer Hernandez for the Marlins. We've got the night off up here, Holly and I do, but the game can be seen exclusively on FS1. Justin Kutcher and CJ Nitkowski will have the call tomorrow night. Jake Lamb with a solo home run to right field back in the first inning. And rather immediately after the leadoff base hit from Goldschmidt, Straley is back to the stretch where he seemingly has been quite a bit. I think it was just that second inning. He's retired the leadoff man in the first 2 innings, so it's not like he's immediately had guys on base, but it just feels like he's thrown so many pitches from the stretch. Castro goes to second. They'll get the lead runner. Or no, they won't. A slow developing play, and Goldschmidt, who is widely regarded as a good base runner, gets down there pretty quickly.
Well, you're right about the slow development. I think traditionally, you know, or ideally, you're looking, you know, to just get that sure out at first base. Of course, Goldschmidt hustling. I don't think he was going any faster than he normally would. It was just such a slow developing play. Bohr had kind of cut across, so it would have been Dan Straley covering first, and the Marlins are going to take another look.
Bohr kind of cut across thinking about it, so there was no play at first. Straley and Lamb got there about the same time, so the only play for Castro was to get it to second base. As the crew chief Tom Hallion will get on the horn with New York, as this one is under review.
Well, it certainly felt slow developing, right? We were watching Goldschmidt move, and he with each extra half second there, he was getting a little bit closer to the bag. Hard to tell from that angle, at least from my perspective.
The call in the field is safe, so there's got to be enough evidence to overturn the safe call. And at least from those two angles, didn't see much, and neither did Tom Hallion or the replay officials in New York. So the call stands. Now, I'll admit that I took it for granted as an out. Do you think JT Riddle did too? Should he have gone out and got that a little bit more like a first baseman?
Well, I mean, I think he was just trying to anticipate the Castro throw, and I think that's where the play felt a little bit slow as Starlin was kind of moving his feet to get in position to make that throw. Again, from my perspective, Goldschmidt had gained an extra 3 steps. Because the ball wasn't hit particularly hard, it was a ball that was kind of already off the ground and in the air. So, you know, Goldie's running, and we're all waiting as this play's going on. You've got to speed up somewhere along the line and cut into that, or he's going to be safe at second base, and it's like the Marlins never really did.
Two on and nobody out for Daniel Descalso. He takes a called strike. He popped up to Castro in the first inning. Last 22 games, though, hitting .313, 8 extra base hits and 18 RBIs. 29 of his 40 ribbies with runners in scoring position.
I said to you when the lineups came out, were you surprised? And I think you kind of gave me a look like you were a little bit. It's like so interesting, but maybe it's the state of the game, and I think Marlins fans will probably agree. When was the last time we saw 2 second basemen hitting in the 4 spot in the lineup?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I was a little more shocked to see Descalso cleaning up tonight.
Well, only because you've seen Starlin, but when you think about it, though,
well,
right?
Right. We're just looking at this Diamondbacks lineup and who they've got. You'd think Goldie would make sense sometimes, and obviously Peralta, who's not in the lineup tonight. Jake Lamb is an all-star last year. You wouldn't really figure Descalso, but he's been, you know.
I think Descalso's hitting the 4 spot more than Castro.
You might be right. Got 2 guys on the case now. balls and a strike. And now 3-1. Well, yeah, I mean, the state of the game right now is that, you know, it used to be your best hitter hits third. Now we see a lot more of your best hitter hits second.
Right. Your best hitter hits third and your big slugger hits fourth. You know, the guy that's going to come in there and drive in all the runs.
Yeah, your
That's
Paul
number
Bunyan
4
guy.
hitter. Yeah, that guy. You know, has like a Charlie Blackmon beard.
Absolutely. Or a guy who's 5'10", 190.
And he's got over 40 RBIs on the season and has done a pretty decent job of driving in runs from the 4 spot in the lineup. Now the game is the changing.
The 3-2 pitch will be coming after that foul ball. Well, Castro, we have our answer. 9th game in the cleanup spot. Descalso, 13th.
Now somebody's got to hit behind Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's pretty tough spot to be, you know, pretty regularly with him as hot as he is right now.
He's at second and Lamb is at first.
Dan was able to get Descalso out on his front foot first at bat, resulting in a pop-up. He'd love nothing more than get a ground ball right here. Clean up this inning.
Well, we can go into greater detail when the bullpens actually do come into the game, but this is a situation against an Arizona Diamondbacks club whose bullpen has been fantastic. And for as much as we talk about the run that Steckenrider is on and Bearclaw is on the Marlins side of things, the Diamondbacks have a guy in Hirano who he's been just about as dominant. So if you get to him or Archie Bradley, some of the other names down there, Boxberger, their closer, got to be careful. Huge out right there on the strikeout of Descalso.
Backup slider right there at 83 miles an hour towards the top of the strike zone. Not sure it was in. Descalso thought it was too close to take. You're absolutely right. Out number 1. A huge out here in the 3rd. Got to keep this close or you're playing into the Diamondbacks' hands. I don't anticipate them stretching Shelby Miller out forever. I mean, if he goes past 100 pitches, I'd almost be shocked. That being said, you're playing into the Diamondbacks bullpen, which is arguably the best in baseball.
Tel Marte takes ball 1. Marte grounded out to Castro in the 2nd inning. Second inning saw the Diamondbacks score 2 runs. Base hit from Mathis, a sac fly from Miller. Time for Lowe's whole team together. Diamondbacks leading baseball with 28 triples. Ketel Marte with 7 of them. Goldschmidt with 4.
Goldschmidt, a pretty good athlete, good defender, good base runner, obviously tremendous with the bat.
Pitch number 101 of the game is lifted out to left center field, and Brinson tracks it down. It's a big out number 2. .58 pitches for Straley. And now Chris Owings. who was hit by a pitch about as barely as you can get hit by a pitch. Just nicked the jersey, but reached and scored in the second.
Well, one thing Dan Straley has done very well this year: escape trouble. 206 batting average against with runners in scoring position. You know, the ERA a little bit higher than traditional, but it really just speaks to the amount of traffic that he's had on the bases. He's actually been pretty good at limiting a lot of the damage.
The inning started with a base hit by Goldschmidt. Lamb got on with a fielder's choice, and a strikeout and a flyout. And I guess the thing of it is, you see first and second, nobody out. You're like, all right, maybe one. Maybe I can give up one. But now it's like, all right, you got the strikeout, big strikeout, the battle for the strikeout against Descalso. Then he gets the fly ball, and you don't want to let down here against Owings. He won't get one as Riddle flips to second. And a nice job pitching out of trouble in the third for Dan Straley. Marlins down 3-1. Formerly number 2 on the left, CEO Derek Jeter, and second round pick Osiris Johnson, also number 2 on the right, and was here today, took batting practice. A little bit of batting practice after having signed with the Marlins. So they continue to lock up their draft picks. Congratulations for Johnson as Straley gets one over the head of Owings in right field. And that'll be extra bases for Dan to lead off the third. Well, I think he got all of that one.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Cyrus, he did a lot of this during batting practice today. That was about the same lane. I was sitting there thinking about his batting practice. I watched it today. I'm like, wow, Dan must have been paying attention. He picked the same lane. There you go. Rocket out to right center field. The best swing of the year. I'll throw it out there right now. Dan Straley jumping all over that fastball. Second career double. He's like, you better not catch that. Look at that, even picking up Freddie at third, thinking 3. Come on, man.
Stand-up double for Straley. So yeah, good to see Osiris Johnson. We had a chance to meet his parents today. He took a couple of swings, and naturally I saw, mom and dad taking pictures. I turned around and I said, they better sign this kid up. And then they did, of course, but it was nice to see him. And also Glenn Geffner, radio voice of the Marlins, was saying he remembers back to when, first or second round picks of the past, came through, and then they get to the big leagues, and the next wave of guys come through, and they get their day taking BP, and you never forget that moment when you get to step in the cage for the first time at the big league level.
Well, I'll say this: he handled himself like a total professional. The young man stepped in there today and took batting practice, and it was an impressive batting practice. I mean, it was barrel after barrel, really around the ballpark. A couple of home runs to center field, again, batting practice, but certainly showing what he's capable of doing.
Ball and a strike to Dietrich. Looper to third into the glove of Lamb. Michael Hill on the right. Join us Friday for Pride at the Park as the Marlins take on the Mets. Purchase a ticket package to receive a Marlins-themed Pride hat. Purchase your tickets today at marlins.com/pride. Got a whole lot of giveaways this weekend against the New York Mets. Mets currently trailing the Pittsburgh Pirates 3-0 in the fourth inning. Big swing and a miss by Anderson, 0-1. Struck out looking in the first inning, wasn't in love with the call. One of two strikeouts tonight for Shelby Miller. Miller made 4 appearances in extended spring at Salt River Fields in Scottsdale. 4 minor league rehab starts, 2 for AA, a couple for Class A, and he said going into this one basically what everybody can expect of Miller. Anderson, right center field, that will fall in front of Owings, and up to third goes Straley. Rally mounting for the Marlins here in the third inning.
Well, and extending that on base streak, 22. Right, Anderson. Classic approach with runners in scoring position. We've seen it many times. Really loves to go to right field and does just that on a fastball in. Miller really trying to bear in on the hands of Marlins hitters with runners in scoring position. This is one of Anderson's strengths. Able to fight it off.
First and third, one out for Justin Moore, who homered earlier. And just to finish that thought on what kind of Miller expected of himself, he said, not assuming that my first one back in the majors is going to be perfect. Command was the last thing for me to come back, but I think that's there right now. I feel good. Everything out of the stretch, out of the windup, feels solid. Said he thinks he's in a good place overall and wouldn't be here if everyone didn't think I was ready to pitch. And again, not only Miller tonight, but Robbie Ray coming back on Wednesday for the Diamondbacks. Pair that with Patrick Corbin and Zach Greinke. See why the D-backs are in first place in the National League West. But you go back to the first inning and Moore homered.
What a great at bat, and was kind of put on point as far as location. Miller really attacking that inside corner. 90, mid-90s fastballs. Looked in there and got it. Second home run in his career against Miller in 9 at-bats. Now you mentioned command and control for Shelby going into tonight's ball game, and you're absolutely right. I think that's kind of the big question mark. You know, what he would look like. You look at his last 2 rehab starts, struggled in AA, got knocked around, in fact, walked a couple, and dominated in A-ball. But I don't know how much you take from that. 10 strikeouts, no walks.
I guess it all depends on how you look at it.
Well, I think of A-ball hitters, and I think, boy, there's some really great athletes, but boy, they're probably swinging at everything out of the hand. You know, like, hey, I know I thought about it when I was going up against guys in big leaguers that would come down. You'd be an A-ball, you'd be like, oh yeah, this guy's coming down from the big leagues. We got to light this dude up. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's kind of like a spring start. You know, a spring start, a guy strikes out 8 guys in the spring. Oh, I felt great today. Give up 7 runs. You're like, I'm just trying to get my work in.
Well, and so I kind of got caught in between. I wasn't really, sure how to value his last 2 starts because one was in Double-A, and again, maybe the hitters are a little bit more mature. But then you definitely think to A-ball, and most of the time we're talking about guys who are trying to prove how good of hitters they are.
Hitters count here for Bohr. Runners on first and third. 3-1 the score, 3-1 the count. Miller delivers.
I'll tell you what, maybe the biggest pitch for Shelby Miller in about, 429 days. What I'm getting at is this thing could have been blown wide open. Just a little bit off. Home run already in the ball game. Runners on first and third. This is a big spot for him.
And a called strike 3 right at the top of the strike zone, but in there for the 3rd strikeout of the night. The big out number 2 in this inning. Well, yesterday we saw Caleb Smith start the game for the Marlins against the Rockies. Placed on the 10-day disabled list today. It is a grade 3 lat strain. No timetable for his return, but certainly not expected back anytime soon. Grade 3 on the longer side of things. So any further updates on that, we'll get that to you when we can, but he had some tests today and the results coming back with a grade 3 lat strain for Caleb Smith, who has been, no question about it, so good throughout this first half of the season.
Well, he's going to have to battle through and get through this and come back 100%, kind of pick up where he left off. That's what you hope for the young man. He's done a fantastic job through 2.5 months this year. He's grown an awful lot. He was in the middle of growing, kind of a second time. We talked about those second starts against teams now that they'd seen you one time. That start in Colorado was the second time the Rockies would have seen him. Some good stuff from Caleb this year, but get that over with and hopefully get himself back on the field as quickly as possible.
To Castro. 2-1. Castro flew out to Owings in right field to end the first inning. Straley stranded a couple of Diamondbacks in the top of this third. Marlins have 2 on, trying to cut into this 2-run deficit in the bottom of the inning. And a base hit up the middle. They'll do just that. Castro brings home Straley, and it's a 1-run game.
Well, I'll tell you what, over the last couple of days, we've seen some really good signs from Starlin Castro. He's really been working hard on staying through the middle. Heard me say probably a few times this month, it looks like he's getting out and around that front side, and this is a pretty good example of staying through the box. That front shoulder stayed in. Good swing, no doubt about it. One hopper through the middle in a big spot with 2 outs. 4th RBI this month for Castro.
Mike Butcher out to talk with Shelby Miller. Straley helping himself there with the leadoff double. Over the head of Owings in right field. He comes around to score. Now we'll get a chance to catch his breath and hope for more runs with a couple on and a couple out. JT Riddle at the plate. Both starters have worked hard in this one. 61 pitches for Straley and 60 pitches for Miller. 2 outs in the bottom of the third. Called strike. Riddle walked in the second. Only walk issued by Miller to this point.
JT a real good first at bat. Mentioned the walk. He worked it. Falling behind and fouled off a few pitches to get that leadoff walk.
In the air left field. I don't know if he sees it. John Jay toward the seats, reaching over, and that one will get into the crowd. I don't know if he saw that immediately. Roof is open tonight, by the way, for a record 16th time this season.
Well, he did signal the sign of panic for an outfielder early. We both saw it. Both those arms went up like he didn't see the baseball right away. See him doing his best to recover. It still would have been an incredibly difficult catch. Ball very much on the other side of the wall.
Right about there.
Yeah, that's the panic sign for an outfielder. That means, please, anybody, show me where the baseball is.
1-2 to Riddle. Yeah, 16th time this season. The roof is open. Most in any single season. Previous record 15 times in 2013. Called strike 3. We have seen that side of the plate be a little wider than others. Billy the Marlin pool float. 3-2. A 3-2 ball game as we head to the top of the 4th inning. Dan Straley helping himself with a hard hit double and then came around to score in the last of the 3rd. He will face Gerard Dyson, Jeff Mathis, and his counterpart Shelby Miller here in inning number 4.
Well, I think it's fair to say both these starters looking for quick innings. Neither one really has found one yet. Straley in the 60s already.
Well, I will say this, and you can comment however you'd like. It's not like they're getting pinched.
That's right.
By the home plate umpire tonight.
Both have been a bit erratic.
Pull it back in time, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. Tomorrow's game is on FS1 exclusively. We are back on Wednesday with the South Florida Honda dealers. Marlins Live pregame show. Craig Minervini and Jeff Nelson in advance of the third game of this 4-game series. On the ground to second base, Castro.
Are you ready for storm season? We are. See how you can prepare at fpl.com/storm.
One out for Jeff Mathis, who had an RBI single in the second inning. Broken bat, Riddle. Don Mattingly talked so much about, after starts, his pitch count got away from him or he kept his pitch count in check. This is one of those innings where Straley would like to get things back on track a little bit after the first 3 where he was working hard.
No, he's in a really good spot. I mean, make a pitch to Miller and you should be out of this thing. 6 pitches in, but you're at the bottom of the lineup. It's exactly what you set up. I want to see him mess around here, waste bullets, or really just throw one down the middle of the plate because Miller can't swing the bat. Get to a corner, you should get what you want.
Oh, 1-2. Both pitchers have also contributed offensively. Miller had a sac fly. Grease first at bat, but here he goes down looking. A nice crisp inning in just 9 pitches. Straley sets him down in order. Todd Hollinsworth back with you, starting a 10-game homestand. Now, moments ago during the break here at Marlins Park, Officer Michael Leonard of the Coconut Creek Police Department.
Every Monday here at
Marlins salute and serve ceremony. He was the law enforcement agent who was the one that located and arrested the Stoneman Douglas shooter back in February. The salute and serve Monday presented by Tick. So a very special moment presented with a baseball from Trevor Richards. And obviously we'll do this each Monday night here at the ballpark, and our thanks for protecting our communities. A very special thanks to Michael Leonard. Tragic events of February 14th at Stoneman Douglas High School. Miguel Rojas to lead it off in the bottom of the 4th inning. Takes a called strike from Shelby Miller. It's Rojas, Brinson, and Holiday here in the 4th inning. A couple of strikeouts in the 3rd for Miller. He's got 4 in the game.
Ground out his first time up. Productive out by Rojas. First at bat back. Did miss a couple games in Colorado. Gordon at bat. Made it to second base on a wild pitch. Rojas moved him up. Fortunately for the Marlins, unable to score.
Well, if that didn't go for a base hit, I was going to lead you to applaud the way that he's been using the whole field. Now I don't have to do that.
Well, yeah, he makes it easy when he does this. I mean, this is Rojas at his best. Watched it all last year. And of course, this year we saw a little bit more power early on. And I do wonder at times if that led to, I think at times where we saw him almost try to pull a little bit more. But that is classic Rojas, using the middle of the field going the other way. And the road trip, what we saw, what was it? Everything up the middle or going the other way. So good signs.
Downstairs to Craig.
Thanks, Paul. One of the keys for Miguel Rojas playing another sport when he was youngster, and that helped him, he thinks, in baseball, believe it or not, was playing the sport of ping pong. He was one of the best in Venezuela. And when he was 11 and 12 years old, Miguel telling me that he was really ranked at the top 3, but he played ping pong during the week, baseball on weekends, and he was a pitcher at that time. And the problem was on weekends, his arm would be sore from all the ping pong activity. And so he had to decide, and obviously saw a better career in baseball than ping pong. He had tennis elbow from the sport of ping pong. As Brinson hits this one back to the box, it's going to be a fielder's choice. But he did say it had helped him with the defense, probably in baseball, the hand-eye coordination, following the ball into your glove. Ping pong, you don't hear that too much, helping out. But I know some players have had that ping pong table in the clubhouse. I don't know if you guys did, Holly, back in the day, and it's a fun sport for guys to play.
Oh yeah, we love ping pong. It was definitely popular in the clubhouse, and in fact, the visiting clubhouse, little player, had it. So as a visitor here, played it all the time. See the play by Miller. He's going to take it back around. I think that caught a piece of his backside. Still able to get the out at first.
Ryan Holiday takes a called strike. That pitch has been a strike all night long. Just off the edge on the left-handed hitter's batter's box side of the plate.
Now both teams complaining about it. Not sure it's going to stop. I don't know why it would. I think in some form you'd argue consistency. I mean, it has been consistent all night. I mean, it hasn't been a Marlins thing or a D-backs thing. It's been a strike ball thing, but it has been consistent.
0-2 now to Holiday. Let me ask you this, and this is not specific to Adam Hamari, but he is setting up on the inside corner against Holiday. That one up and in. But sometimes we'll see umpires set up on the inside corner and the outside corner. You don't often see them set up right behind the catcher, as I would think, to get an even shot of the inside and outside corner.
Well, generally they usually pick a shoulder to look over the catcher, and I think that's the idea, is that you get your best view that way. If you're standing directly over the top, it's much more difficult to get, see the strike zone vertically.
So do you think that allows them a lesser sense of the opposite corner?
Well, it can happen. I mean, but this is part of the argument, and I certainly don't want to lead us down this path. But again, I think we asked the question, or at least I think we did the pregame on the road trip. We were talking about, automated strike zone. I feel like everybody in the building, including the players, the fans, us, you name it, we all see the strike zone differently, and he's got to call it and have a pretty good idea of what his personal strike zone is and try to be good with it. Yet it seems like he doesn't know as much as the rest of us. So Again, it's not a perfect system, but, you know, my generation, you adapted to the strike zone. The idea was you communicated with the home plate umpire to ask him what his strike zone was. You'd watch all the hitters move around the boxes. You know, you'd see guys get 6 inches on the outside corner, my toes to be touching the inside corner, trying to cover the outside corner.
Right.
Today, I don't know if you see nearly as much of that. You do see a little bit more complaining. I don't mean that in a negative way, but it is what we see.
So you moved around the box a lot,
All the time, absolutely.
Okay, so
in fact, we talked about it before every game, but again, the strike zones were different. They were more suited to the home plate umpire that day. His strike zone is this. This is what you need to be that day. You need to be more aggressive. You need to be less aggressive. Umpires had different strike zones.
3-2 on the way to Holiday with Rojas dancing off of second. Cut on and missed, strike 3. That's number 5 tonight for Miller. 2 away here in the 4th, and that'll bring up Dan Straley. So when you're moving around the batter's box, let's say you move up a little closer to the plate, right? You take a step closer to home plate. Did you ever fool yourself into thinking that a ball was further inside than
All
it
the time,
was?
absolutely. Catchers knew it, but I mean that was kind of like the gamesmanship that would go on. Catchers, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Great catchers read hitters. You watch hitters sometimes. You'll watch a lefty. You'll get in the box. All of a sudden, you'll bring a left-handed reliever in, and they'll move up a foot. You know what I mean? Trying to cut that slider off so that it doesn't get to the outside corner. You watch hitters do things, but good catchers, Math is certainly very good. We've talked about JT doing it. Holiday does it as well. They're good at reading what hitters do as far as their setup in the box.
Next pitch will be number 80 for Shelby Miller.
Shelby pitching Dan Straley very carefully here.
He better,
because of what happened last at bat.
a rocket to right field. I think he's scared.
No, I don't think so. I think he's making a pitch and expecting those couple of inches that we've kind of been seeing, you know, both guys get tonight. It was a borderline strike at least a couple of hitters ago.
3-0 for Straley. Straley double, 94.6 miles an hour off the bat. 193 from Miller, and it's a full count. Straley's second hit of the year. Fights that one off. Still 3-2. How about that? Maybe we just spend about 3 minutes talking about how the outside or that side of the plate, a little off the edge, has been a strike all night long. And Jeff Mathis has already stolen a couple of pitches off that edge. Thought he had one, as did Miller.
I think everybody was walking this off. Mathis was walking it off. Miller was walking it off. Dan Straley was walking to first base. He knew it was a ball the whole time. But I think the strike zone we've been watching tonight has led us to believe that is the case. We're going to have a little meeting on the mound here. It has been a grind. Might be the right word to use through 4 innings tonight. Both of these guys.
So Mike Butcher out to talk with Shelby Miller. Let's go downstairs to check in with Craig Minervini.
Well, guys, the Marlins for the 228th time finished 1 leg shy of the cycle yesterday. You guys have been describing a few of these this year. Normally, it's been the triple. Derek Dietrich came up shy because of that yesterday. 170 times of the 228 has been the triple that has been missing. But it's happened since the Marlins became an organization 93 times around Major League Baseball, led by the Rangers, who had 9 cycles, Colorado 8, Arizona and Washington 6. But Miami, Cincinnati, and Kansas City have not had a cycle since 1993. One other note, guys, 4 times in Marlins history they've been a single shy of the cycle. Omar Infante here, Ugla Willingham, and Gary Sheffield missed out on the single. One of these days, though, guys, one of these days.
I thought it would have been the other day. He had 3 hits in the first 3 innings at Coors Field. A chance 3-4 more at bats.
Yeah, he only got 2 more at bats. Actually got another hit.
A base hit to right field. Here comes Rojas around third. It's off the mark, and it's a base hit for Derek Dietrich to tie the game at 3. Dietz stays hot.
He sure does. Now, after a fly ball to left, it'll pop up to third in bat number 2. Comes out. It jumps all over this first pitch fastball. He's been game planning well. Think about yesterday, he jumped on a first pitch fastball, right? Just had a meeting on the mound. See the runners now in motion with contact. Rojas a good break around third. Scores easily.
It has been just about a month of that for Derek Dietrich. He's been so solid for the Marlins, ties the game up. And because of that, the Diamondbacks make the Florida Lottery call to the bullpen. Out here in the 4th inning. Everyone deserves a second chance. Just play Grouper, enter your lucky money ticket online, and you're registered for the $400,000 Super Grouper Second Chance promotion. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly. So Shelby Miller is done in his first start back off the disabled list from Tommy John surgery. And TJ McFarland comes in for the 28th game for the D-backs this year. 2.23 ERA. Sinker slider change from McFarland. Doesn't throw particularly hard. Does have 3 pitches. Does mix them well. 90-91 on that sinker. So Brian Anderson up. 2 on and 2 out. Of course, the runners on base. Responsibility of Miller. This one misses low, a ball and no strikes to Anderson, who struck out in the first inning and singled in the third to push his on-base streak to 22 games. So now the next order of business, get a knock and give the Marlins the lead. This one to right center field, and he has done just that as it one-hops the wall. Strailing in to score. Around third is Dietrich. The throw is not in time, as Dietrich slid right into Mathis, who was going to get the baseball to apply the tag, but a 2-run double for Brian Anderson, and it's 5-3 Marlins.
Now picking up his second base hit, going the other way. Certainly the approach tonight for Anderson. Worked himself ahead, 1-0. Fastball to his liking. Drove it into the right center field gap. Everybody's off to the races with 2 outs. Nice job by Anderson making his way into second base. You'll see contact here on the play at home. Dietrich slides into the leg of Mathis. Certainly beats the tag.
Here's Justin Bohr. A 3-run inning.
There's some of that contact that we were talking about. You see the glove. Again, there can be contact, no tag. That's the important thing. You see Mathis reaching back. So contact before, even though the ball's in the glove, you're not out as a runner. So Dietrich's safe. Again, Mathis has already got the ball. He's got to tag him with the glove.
Thankfully, Dietrich got up from that, because that was a dangerous slide attempt right there.
You're really surprised that Dietrich got up from that.
Okay. No, I guess you're right.
That's part of his personality, don't you think?
I think so. 3 runs home in the inning, another in scoring position right now. And it's 0-2 to Bohr. Got on and missed for strike 3, but the Marlins come back to tie it and then take the lead on the 2 RBI double from Brian Anderson. By Southwest, transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. The Cleveland Clinic, stiff joints, aches and pains. Trust Cleveland Clinic, Florida, the #1 orthopedic care in Florida, and by La Lechonera, the original mojo since 1970. Beautiful night with the roof open here at Marlins Park. First of a 4-game series against the first place Diamondbacks. Ball outside. Well, Brian Anderson comes through yet again with a runner in scoring position.
See that right there? He's trying to cool himself off.
It ain't gonna work,
Can't
dude.
do it, kid.
It's not gonna work.
Don't blow on those hands.
No, the National League's been trying to do that for the first half. It ain't
Don't do
working.
it. Well, stay hot.
John Jay to lead it off, then Paul Goldschmidt and Jake Lamb, with the Marlins now up 5-3. Well, it would be an interesting study as Conley begins to loosen, with Straley approaching 75 pitches. It'd be an interesting study to see kind of the distribution of the run-scoring hits for Brian Anderson. Now, just without doing too much of the math and looking at all kinds of video and whatever, I would just think that a lot of them have gone to right center field. Center field, right field. That's kind of his approach. He doesn't try to do too much. And, you know, you pair that approach with runners in scoring position with his overall approach to use the whole field. And that's why the guy's been so consistent.
Well, it really has benefited him. In fact, what is it, 4 homers, 3 of the 4 homers have gone the other way. It really speaks to his approach. Now, I know that, you hear phrases like, and we'll probably continue to throw him his way.
To right field, Anderson tested defensively, makes the catch.
Now, you talk about phrases, like the power will develop or it's going to come. I mean, here's the one thing you can't change is the approach. There's a pretty good perspective of what he likes to do. We talked about this at Coors Field. Well, listen, I know the ball doesn't travel the same way here in Miami that it does at Coors. Speaking from somebody who played both parks, I mean, pro player was very much the same way as well. Huge outfield.
Right.
And the point is, you can decide for yourself what type of hitter you want to be. And what I mean by that is, you can go in and say to yourself, okay, well, the only way I'm going to hit balls out of here is by pulling them because I really don't have as much power the other way, and I'm going to try to do this, and maybe that's who you become, and maybe more than likely you don't because it's one of the bigger parks in baseball. Point being that Brian Anderson has taken a very strategic, smart approach early on in his career. He's teaching himself how to hit at the major league level, and he's allowing the power to develop. He's not searching out the power and hoping that the discipline and the approach will come along afterward.
I just think that it's a perfect illustration of take what the ballpark's going to give you.
Right.
Goldschmidt strikes out for the second out here in the 5th. Tomorrow the World Cup continues on Fox and FS1 with a full slate of matches. It all kicks off at 9 a.m. with France taking on Denmark, and then later Messi and Argentina face Nigeria. The World Cup on Fox and FS1, or stream it all live on the Fox Sports app. Strike to Jake Lamb. And a solo home run in the first inning to get the scoring started tonight. Marlins answered back in the bottom of the first inning with a run of their own on the home run by Bohr. 2 in the second by the D-backs, 1 in the bottom of the third for the Marlins, and 3 in the bottom of the fourth. Oh, and 2. Lamb, it was just his 6th homer of the season. 23 RBIs for him now. His average at 233, but he was an all-star last year for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Two and 2 from Straley. Saw Conley up earlier. He has since sat back down in the Marlins bullpen as Straley delivers a 2-2 pitch. And Lamb couldn't hold up. 9 straight retired for Dan Straley and 5 strikeouts along the way as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning here at Marlins Park. Diamondbacks as the Marlins are up 5-3. Geico presents this day in Major League history. June 25th, the year 2000. Darren Erstad, third player to hit a walk-off home run and a leadoff home run in the same game as his Angels won 7-6-11, beating the Minnesota Twins. Start with Castro with the ground ball to Ketel Marte at short. One pitch and one out for TJ McFarland here in the 5th. McFarland on in relief of Shelby Miller, went 3 2/3, 6 hits, 5 runs, a couple of walks, and 5 strikeouts.
No surprise that McFarland is out there. He's multiple innings a few times this season. In fact, he's got 3 outings this season of 4 innings or more.
JT Riddle takes a called strike. Riddle walked in the second and struck out in the third. Well, Mathis has taken a beating behind the plate tonight.
He certainly has, between Shelby Miller and out of the hand of McFarland. You're absolutely right. The first 5 or 6 breaking balls from Shelby Miller bounced in front of home plate.
Way in front of home plate. For the Diamondbacks, as we were talking, as we went to Arizona at the beginning of the month, McFarland strikes out Riddle for the second out here in the 5th inning. It's kind of been a tale of 3 seasons for this club thus far. Trailing 5-3 here, but for the most part, they were great in April. They were not so great in May, and June, after one of the games in that 3-game series against the Marlins, they got into first place. They have not been anything less than tied for first. As the Florida Lottery in-game jackpot shows that they are on a 4-game win streak. They've won 16 of 22.
Right. Well, we've told you, and maybe so much of this is tied to their star player, Paul Goldschmidt. And I know that Peralta's certainly part of it. He's not in the lineup tonight, but he's been hot as well. It almost feels like a Batman and Robin almost type of relationship when you look at their numbers in June. But that's what it is.
It's a long season and a long throw from Marte, but a short inning for TJ McFarland. 1-2-3, 5-3.
The strike zone's what you like to see, but so many of these outs, these strikeouts, put outs with the slider. It's a good changeup right there. Excuse me, fastball, a little two-seamer. That is the slider right there. He's had a good changeup. It's helped him get to it, but a few more secondary pitches over the last 9 hitters really explains the tally of strikeouts that we've seen of late. And again, good command, no walks. So a very similar pattern with Straley this season in so many of his starts. A lot of times you'll see some damage early, kind of settle in, dominate 2-3 innings, and then hopefully carry it to the end of that outing.
Well, it, of course, doesn't work this way. Figure, give him 100 pitches each outing. He doesn't have an extra 75 pitches this time around from his last time out. But you figure maybe a little extra rest, a little extra juice tonight. What do you think?
Well, maybe, and we'll see. I mean, the Marlins bullpen's been fantastic, and they're well rested. I mean, they didn't get overexposed on this road trip. I mean, the idea is that they do have a lot of consecutive games, so maybe that's a possibility.
Conley, Witt, Ziegler. Ben Meyer out there tonight, the corresponding move. Caleb Smith to the disabled list. Left yesterday's ball game, diagnosed today with a grade 3 lat strain.
I'll tell you what, though, I mean, we are paid for our thoughts, Paul, and when it comes to Straley, if you can necessarily work around it, fly ball to left. Dietrich's got it for out number 1. The idea is, I mentioned that pattern that you fall into, and sometimes you'll hear a guy, and I don't know if it necessarily works this way, we certainly have to merely just ask Dan about it. I don't know if it necessarily would do it, but it's like you can kind of notice the period where he starts to dominate is when he gets past about 40 pitches. It's in that 40 to 80 pitch range where he really seems to settle in for whatever reason. You go back and look at so many of his starts, a little bit of trouble early, fastball command's not there. Maybe the slider and the changeup are kind of getting there, but after about 35, 40 pitches, he gets locked in and he starts to dominate. So I guess the question is, how do you fix those first, 1 through 35 or 40? Is it a longer bullpen before the game? I don't know. Sometimes you can do that. I've heard guys that can.
Well, that's the delicate balance of the whole thing now, that every pitch really is counted, whether it's starting pitchers, guys in the bullpen. Every time they throw a baseball, there's a counter on it. Backhanded, knocked down by Castro, recovers, but Marte will reach with 1 out here in the 6th inning.
Castro definitely gets to it, chooses the backhand. It's with the heel of the glove, knocks it down, but Marte's speed what gets the error on Starlin Castro. Somebody else might not have beaten that out, but Marte does possess very good speed.
So 1 on, 1 out for Chris Owings, and it would be interesting to see if you sit. This will give me something to talk to Juan Nieves about it. Like when a pitcher, whether it's Straley or whoever, to third, knocked down by Rojas, has time to get the out at second, and popped out of the glove on the transfer. There are 2 outs.
Well, hard hit ball, but on the ground, certainly where Marlins like it. Love their infield. Like to see them fielding ground balls. It's nearly a double play. See Rojas bobble it just a bit, but good strong throw to second base. Starlin Castro bobbling it a bit on that transfer.
I'll finish my thought quick. It'll give me something to talk to Juan Nieves about. Like if a pitcher does that, his first inning troubles, extend the bullpen before the game, how does that affect the pitch count for the game? Okay, that's it. Thoughts over. Back to the game before I get caught in another ground ball. That's all. Hot shot over to third, and Rojas, look at his right thumb.
Yeah, that's the other hand, crying out loud. His glove hand is the hand that took the hit by pitch, and then obviously off to the cheek. You see his hand wrapped underneath there. That is his throwing hand. If you got it in there, sometimes you can get your hand in the glove and that ball will kind of spin in there and get you. Try to be a little quick, a little too quick sometimes.
Ziegler up for the Marlins. Straley is at 95 pitches.
It's amazing, right? I mean, you got to think. I mean, we were watching him through 3, thinking he's going to be at 100 pitches through 4.
Right.
And now he's at short. He's one strike away from giving you 6. Finishing potentially under 100.
Pitcher, that's a key on what is, generally speaking, a young pitching staff. You have to be able to battle. If in the first 40, 50 pitches of your outing you don't have it, you can't just pack it in and get out. You got to figure out how to get outs and work deeper into the game. Save a bullpen that worked 7 2/3 yesterday after the Caleb Smith injury. Now, not everybody worked that 7 2/3. But the point being, you're on game 4 of a 20-game run right now. 20 games in 20 days. So the more outs a starting pitcher can gather in an outing, the better it will be for the bullpen.
Now 61 pitches through 3 innings for Dan Straley. 9 in the 4th, 15 in the 5th, 12 plus here now in the 6th.
Owings away from first, and the 2-2 to Dyson. And that will give Owings a head start. Goes on 3-2. Dyson swings and misses. And Straley with a strikeout to end the 6th, his 6th of the night. And he protects a 5-3 lead here in Miami. Got his batting gloves on. He's got his elbow guard on. He's due up 3rd in the inning. We'll see if he gets a chance to hit as we give you the Chevrolet Prospect Spotlight. Jeff Brigham in Double-A with the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. 5 starts this season. I think that'll play. 34 strikeouts and 4 walks and an 0.35 ERA.
You think Bringham's bringing it?
I think so. I think you are too. Nice
You're
job
right.
with that. Excellent work. Well rested after a 10-day road
0.35.
trip.
About 3 hours of sleep. Good.
You usually don't need more than that anyway, though.
Usually good for about 5 hours.
5.
Yeah.
Brinson to lead it off, then Brian Holiday, and at the moment, Dan Straley. May depend on the situation, though. Straley right at 99 pitches. Adam Conley up for the second time in the ball game. Got a piece of that one, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Despite the 0 for 2, certainly worth mentioning the last ground out. Hit off Shelby Miller, talking about Brinson. 109 miles an hour off the bat. My goodness.
It's right off the keister of Shelby Miller.
Are you ready for storm season? We are. See how you can prepare at fpl.com/storm.
It's 3 strikeouts in relief for McFarland as Straley is out into the on-deck circle.
Yeah, Straley, perfect night offensively.
Yeah. Very patient at bat last time out.
You realize how big a pitch that was. They both walked off. That Straley 3-2 pitch. Dietrich singled, Anderson doubled. Marlins up 5-3.
At 5-3 lead, with all due respect to what has been a lights-out Marlins bullpen the last few weeks, is anything but safe, because certainly there are guys like Goldschmidt in the lineup. Lamb's got a home run tonight, but think about the bench too. There are options on the bench. There's David Peralta, who's been red hot with 15 home runs. John Ryan Murphy's got 9 home runs. Yes, he is one of the catchers, but again, there's 3 of them, so it's not one of those situations where we can't use our backup catcher tonight, because then in an emergency we're in a pinch. They've also got Alex Avila, so options and threats for Torey Lovullo. So if the Marlins have an opportunity to tack on runs, they certainly will want to do that.
They're one of the few teams with a 5-man bench.
Yeah, they've got 5. The Rockies had 3, and they had 3 catchers.
Everybody wants that extra arm in the bullpen. Well, most anyway.
2-2 to Holiday. Grounds it to Marte. And that's the second out here in the 6th. And Straley is going to hit for himself.
Well, I kid you not, Dan Straley, a big part of the offense tonight. A double, a walk, 2 runs scored. It's the only Marlin to score twice tonight. Well, it doesn't happen often when you talk about the pitchers. You got to go all the way back to 2016 to find the last time a starting pitcher scored twice in a ball game. In fact, Adam Conley, the last to do it. It's Chicago White Sox, August of 2016. No surprise here, ahead 2-0.
Well, of course. Offensive threat, Dan Straley. And maybe that'll be on the back of his jersey for Players Weekend. 2-1. So he's completed 6 innings. The last time he completed 6 innings was about a month ago, the 23rd of May against the Mets, when he threw 6. And he had 7 in the outing before that against the Atlanta Braves. But again, as I said before, a veteran on what is, generally speaking, a young pitching staff in a lengthy run of games for the Marlins. So it's important that if he's going well, 99 pitches in this day and age, that's a scary number. Fine, only an inning and a third his last time out. Strikes out to end it. We head to the 7th with the Marlins up by 2.
Taking over, yeah, we taking over the game. Take over, now we taking over the game. And you know we won't stop, cause we don't feel pain. Now we taking over the game. Taking over, yeah, we taking over the game. Take over, cause now we taking over the game. Yeah, we never stop, we don't feel pain.
Nice offensive night for the Marlins as they have bounced back down in the first inning on a Jake Lamb home run, but answered right back. And then, of course, that 3-run bottom of the 4th inning. And oh, by the way, Dan Straley has settled down, gave up 3 runs in the first 2 frames against the Diamondbacks, but now 6 strikeouts in 6 innings of work. He is back out there for the 7th inning. He'll face Mathis. And then it looks like Nick Ahmed in the on-deck circle in the pitcher spot, number 9, and then back to the top of the order for John Jay. First pitch to Mathis is outside for ball 1. That's an even 100 pitches for Straley. But again, we point out, for those that may have missed it, just an inning and a third his last time out, as he was ejected from the ball game after there had been warnings issued. He hit Buster Posey. Umpires saw that as intentional, so he was taken out of the game. That one line down the line, foul. 1-1.
You go back to a breaking point in this ball game back in the 3rd inning. If the Diamondbacks were able to get their first 2 guys on in the 3rd, he really had to work through that trouble. Punched out to Scalzo. Went on to get the next 2 guys out, and since then has been almost unhittable.
Rojas cuts in front of Riddle and makes the play to get Mathis. Will be Nick Ahmed off the bench for Arizona.
Well, Ahmed 1 for 3 pinch hitting this year in his career, 6 for 17. He's done a decent job Don Mattingly making his way out. That may be it. Looks like it is.
The Florida Lottery call to the bullpen. A nice job to settle down for Dan Straley as he gives the Marlins 6 1/3 tonight. Brad Ziegler in a 2-run game in the 7th. runs and 6 strikeouts, 102 pitches as he gives way to the Marlins bullpen, which the last 3 weeks or so has been pretty much lights out, including Brad Ziegler, who was the closer for a while for the Marlins this season. Faced the pinch hitter Nick Ahmed. First pitch is outside, a ball and no strikes. It was in San Diego that he had that blown save against the Padres, lifted from the closer's role since then in 11 games as just your normal reliever, not a closer. 11 games, 13 innings pitched, 2 runs, and a 1.38 ERA. So when Don Mattingly said we're going to match him up a little bit better, he meant it, and it has worked very well.
Well, 9 of his last 10 appearances scoreless. That's what you love to hear. A lot of balls on the ground. Certainly a lot more effective. I mean, got to watch Ziegler over the last couple of years. Sometimes you watch him spray it a bit. That has not been happening over the last 4 to 6 weeks. He's really been locked in right around that strike zone. In fact, that slider back as well.
Ahmed 4 for 23 on the road trip for the Diamondbacks. Saw his numbers in the series against the Marlins. This year, a career high 10 home runs. Two and two from Ziegler. Shipley. Rojas with the diving play, up and throws, got him at first. Nice job by Miggy at the hot corner, 2 away.
Yeah, never seems to disappoint, especially when it comes to the glove. You know what? His hand might be sore, his other hand might be sore, his cheeks might still even be sore, but I'll tell you what, his legs aren't sore. How about that? Fantastic job making his way into the hole. 2 steps and a dive. Taking a hit away from Ahmed. Big out right there. Second out here in the 7th. Well done.
Well, if you want Ziegler to get ground balls, this is the defense for you. My goodness. He'll induce the ground balls. These guys will pick them up, as Miguel Rojas did just there for the second out of the inning. John Jay with a tapper. Ziegler fields, and just in order to keep his balance, will take it himself. The unicorn.
all military by sharing a photo or video with hashtag Hats Off for Heroes. For each post, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support veterans.
A beautiful night in the Magic City. And a nice night inside the ballpark, too, where the Marlins have a 5-3 lead as we move to the bottom of the 7th inning. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth, Craig Minervini with you, opening up a 4-game series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tomorrow night's game, again, exclusively on FS1. And then Todd and I are back for games 3 and 4 of the series Wednesday night and Thursday afternoon as Braden Shipley is in out of the Diamondbacks pen. He'll face the top of the Marlins order, Derek Dietrich. Lines one into the seats. Dietrich, Brian Anderson, and Justin Bohr with a 2-run cushion here in the 7th inning.
Shipley recalled from AAA Reno prior to today's game. He's 3 and 4 with a save, 6.40 ERA.
The name sounds familiar, a cousin of former NFL wide receiver Jordan Shipley. First round pick, 15th overall in 2013 by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Misses outside, a ball and 2 strikes. Dietrich chases outside for the 3rd strike, 1 away here in the 7th. Anderson digs in. Toyota Trent shows the numbers through this 22-game on-base streak. A 337 average. He's hitting 536 with runners in scoring position the last 3 weeks.
Told him not to blow on his hands.
My gosh, that's
I think
unbelievable.
that's beyond hot, right?
I think so.
Usually
Scorching.
400's hot. 409, 410, 537. Is that what the number was?
I think it was 536, but the point taken. Yeah, absolutely.
It's up there.
You don't want to overdo it. 537, that's just insane.
Well, 26 multi-hit games this season. That leads the team. Obviously leads the rookies as well.
Hey.
96 from Shipley. Lined out to left, but right to John Jay, 2 away. Adam Conley still throwing. The Marlins bullpen. Here's Justin Bohr. Takes a called strike. A home run from Bohr in the bottom of the 1st inning. Both strikeouts tonight, too, but that home run off of Shelby Miller, 3 2/3 from him, 5 earned runs, but then 2 1/3 from TJ McFarland to settle things down a bit. And a 1-2-3 inning for Shipley here in the 7th. 5-3, Marlins on top. 3. As Cameron Maben comes in left field. It's part of a double switch as Adam Conley will pitch the 8th inning in his 15th game this season. He's been very effective. A 123 ERA, 180 opponent batting average, but I guess the question would be, 8th inning, 2-run game, no Drew Steckenrider.
Yeah, certainly understandable. Conley's been doing a fantastic job. Fastball, changeup, slider. He's been very effective. A couple of strikeouts his last time out. That would have been yesterday. Hasn't given up in his last 3 outings.
There is Drew. He usually pitches the 8th inning. But again, this is Marlins are in a stretch of 20 straight games. It's day 4. They've got different options, lights out to varying degrees with Conley, with Steckenrider, with the Bear Claw. So that, again, good, I don't even want to say problems to have, but good options for Don Mattingly.
Well, when everybody's throwing the ball very well, you do create options, and certainly you can rest guys. Interesting to see Steckenrider now making his way up in the bullpen, starting to loosen.
It's Kyle Bearclaw.
Well, it's been a while. There you go. You see, worked on Saturday, worked on Sunday. I don't believe he has thrown 3 times in a row this season. So if he were to go today, that would be the first time in which he would have gone 3 times. So Steckenrider getting up. Steck's got a save this season already.
Goldschmidt, line drive, left field. That's Maben on the track. And that's the first out. Second game of a 4-game series tomorrow night. Not on Fox Sports Florida, but on FS1 exclusively on FS1. 7 o'clock. Zach Godley and Eliezer Hernandez starting in place of Jose Urena, who's on the disabled list with a shoulder impingement. So FS1 tomorrow, back on Fox Sports Florida Wednesday night and Thursday afternoon for games 3 and 4 of this series.
Well, this Marlins bullpen is so good. They've been just absolutely lights out of late. Retired 20 consecutive batters. The franchise record's 24. Conley yesterday in Colorado, 1 inning, no hits, no runs, no walks, couple of strikeouts, 9 pitches. So he's good to go today.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about there.
Three on the right side against Jake Lamb, who homered in the first inning. Got on and missed. That's the first strikeout tonight for Conley. 2 away in the 8th.
MLB At Bat is your #1 app for Marlins baseball. Customize your experience to catch every moment this season. Marlins home screen icons, features such as MLB.TV, Game of the Day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, live radio broadcasts, stats, news, and more. Download MLB At Bat today.
Chop right side, Castro. And a 1-2-3 8th inning for Adam Conley. Very effective, protecting a 5-3 lead. 5-3. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth with you. First of 4. Marlins trying to get their first win this season against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Swept by Arizona at Chase Field at the beginning of the month. Following that sweep, the Marlins have been playing some pretty good baseball, 11-8 since then. Trying to add to it. Called strike 2, Starlin Castro. An RBI single in the 3rd inning. RBI his 28th of the season. But it's been a month that's been a little rough for Castro. Overall average has dipped to 268. But still such a veteran presence, as Kyle Bearclaw is up in the Marlins bullpen. Such a veteran presence in this lineup is Starlin Castro that, you know, he knows the ups and downs of a big league season. He knows that there will be slumps and there will be hot streaks. And you figure once he gets out of the funk that he's in, and he may be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel at this point with the RBI single earlier tonight, you know, he'll go on a stretch where he's hitting 340 for 3 weeks.
Well, I think for managers, certain guys they trust to grind through their slumps. Others they have to sit down. I don't believe Starlin is that guy. Some people say, well, why hasn't he taken a break? Why hasn't he been sat down for a couple of games? Let him work his swing out and then get back in there. Now, Starlin, listen, he's as productive and probably will figure it out in the game as much as he would figure it out in a cage or, you know, missing a couple of ball games.
And when more and more of those fall in, you know you're breaking out of it. It's a 2-hit night for Starlin Castro. Little looper over Marte to lead off the 8th inning.
You're absolutely right. Multi-hit effort tonight. Good at bats. Better at bats anyway. Better results for Castro. Doesn't crush it. Hits it well enough. Tuck those hands in. This 8th inning started right. A little soft liner to left.
21st multi-hit game of the year for Starlin Castro. Ian Dietrich with 21. Brian Anderson leading the club with 25. Well, 26 for Anderson tonight. That is 26th. He gets them so rapidly, it's hard to keep track of the young man. Tack on another run. Up by 2 now. They've got the Diamondbacks do. Marte, Owings, and Dyson due up in the 9th inning. And a base hit through the right side for JT Riddle. Heading toward 3rd is Castro. The throw is on the mark, but not in time. Castro gets to 3rd. Yeah, love the athleticism, love the thought. After 3 or 4 throws to first base, no go right there. Base hit through the right side. Starlin throttles down. You're absolutely right, Paul. Certainly looking for that tack-on run. He knows this ball not hit hard. Owings a long way to go. That baseball, Starlin makes his way to 3rd base. He'll head for a slide. Play.
Well, Freddie had him at safe, so we know him to move on.
Absolutely. Diamondbacks don't challenge, and we play on. They'll play about halfway, not necessarily all the way in. Close on the check, Riddle. 1st and 3rd for Rojas. singled and scored in the 4th inning. A 3-run 4th inning for the Marlins. It helped them erase what at the time was a 3-2 deficit. Diamondbacks did tonight what they've been doing a lot of in the month of June, and that score first on the Lamb solo home run, but Bohr answered right back in the bottom of the inning. D-backs came back, scored 2 against Dan Straley in the 2nd, and then Straley really settled in afterwards.
Well, this would almost be the Marlins beating the Diamondbacks at their own game. You add up what they've been doing on the road, only 1 loss in their last 9 games on the road. We told you an awful lot about that early offense. Throw to first. Riddle back. But once again, Dan Straley settling in, keeping this offense at bay, and then turning it over to a, yeah, I'm going there, lockdown bullpen for the Marlins.
A bullpen that needed to pitch 7 2/3 last night in Colorado after Caleb Smith left after an inning in the 3rd. The diagnosis on him, grade 3 lat strain. No timetable for the return, but figures to be a while at a grade 3. A base hit into right field for Miguel Rojas. That'll bring home Castro. A big insurance run as Miggy stays hot. 3-run lead.
Now 2nd hit of the ball game. 2nd base hit to right field. Need I say more? Watch JB telling you exactly what Rojas was thinking about doing. I think even some of the Diamondbacks stunned. This is a breaking ball with 2 strikes, folks. Not easy to do. You have to let the breaking ball travel. Stay behind it. Keep those hands back. He knows he's done his job. Control on the right side.
Brinson takes low and away. A couple of ground outs and a strikeout for Brinson tonight. Again, the infield about halfway for the D-backs. 2-0.
Well, these are the big at-bats that Brinson has been doing so much better with here in the month of June. Situation demands contact, preferably or at least at a minimum, a deep fly ball. Heading to count 2-0. Good take. Now for this pitch and for the next pitch, this is all Brinson's at bat. He's looking for his perfect pitch to do something big with. He's not looking for just to put the ball in play. He's looking for 110 off the bat.
Or ball 4 to load him up.
Good discipline right there.
The Marlins and Metro PCS will be hosting watch parties for the World Cup. Join us for afternoon games throughout the month at the 5th base presented by Corona Light. First 50 guests to visit the Metro PCS store at Marlins Park before kickoff will receive VIP access. Visit marlins.com/watch parties for a list of dates. And Mike Butcher out to talk with Diamondbacks pitcher. Made a few trips out there already today. Went out to talk with Shelby Miller a couple of times. Now obviously a huge spot in this ball game with the bases loaded and nobody out. Already up by 3. Riddle the runner at 3rd. Rojas the runner at 2nd after the RBI single. And Brinson after the walk is at 1st. Ball 1 to Brian Holiday as they check down with Phil Cuzzy, no swing. 2-0. It's like musical chairs out there in the bullpen.
Well, the lead continues to change. I mean, you see what the Marlins are about ready to do. One big swing here, and this game is going to be blown wide open. Holiday's calling the shots now, ahead 2-0 with the bases loaded. He is sitting dead red fastball after laying off a couple of breaking balls. He should come out of his shoes right here, get something to hit. He doesn't. Tell you what, Marlins have been disciplined in those counts. Very good to see. Like Brinson here, he is calling the shots from the batter's box. One pitch, one spot, one swing, your best.
7 straight out of the zone from Shipley. Make it 8 and an RBI walk for Holiday. 7-3 Miami.
Well, that's the 5th consecutive base runner for the Marlins here in the 8th as they continue to add on and look to blow this game wide open. 7-3, bases loaded, nobody out.
Does Cameron even think about swinging at the first pitch?
Well, probably not Cameron. I used to think that way, though. And I mean that in all honesty. I mean, the guy's got to throw a strike at some point, right? You're just trying to be disciplined in the zone.
That one to the backstop, but it gets right back into a perfect position for Jeff Mathis. Boy, on a carom, you couldn't have asked, if you're the Diamondbacks, for a better spot. Man.
Well, a breaking ball. He knows he's got to make a pitch here. He's not going to just groove one and let Maven go to work. Maven's thinking he's got to throw a fastball right here because I'm getting ready to go to work. I don't think that situation has changed. Shipley has not been able to throw a strike with either his fastball or his breaking ball, but Maven's thinking one thing, one pitch, one spot once again.
9 straight out of the zone from Shipley for a swinging strike to Maven.
That's the first changeup in the sequence.
D-backs down 4, bring the entire infield in now with the bases still loaded and nobody out. Two and 1. JB Shuck on deck. Double switch, that was where Dietrich started, but then Maven came in, the other half of the double switch. Two and 2 to Cam, and a base hit through the left side. 1 run scores. Here comes Brinson. It's a 2 RBI single for Cameron Maven, and it's 9-3 Miami.
Now, tremendous disciplined at bats from the Marlins here in the 8th. 6 consecutive runners have now reached 3 base hits, a couple walk, and a hanging breaking ball later. You got yourself a 4-run 8th. They're not done. Runners on first and second. Nobody out. Nice job by Maven.
Diamondbacks are looking around for something. They've got their hands up halting play. I'm not sure exactly why. They're saying the phone doesn't work, is what Adam Hamari, the home plate umpire, is trying to clarify. with manager Torey Lavello. So he'll bring crew chief Tom Hallion in from third. You know, they still do it, but I think it was Ozzie Guillen. Remember Ozzie Guillen when Bobby Jenks, right? With the White Sox. There was one time, just talking about communication with bullpens and stuff like that, where Ozzie walks out there. They had two guys up in the bullpen, and Ozzie puts his hand up above his head and his two hands out to say, like, give me the tall, wide guy. Right? Remember that?
Bobby Jenks.
Bobby Jenks, exactly. Now we got all kinds of different forms of communication. One side can't use the phones, and the other. First and second, and nobody out for J.B. Shuck. Pinch hitting for the pitcher right now in the 8th inning. 4 runs in for Miami. Boy, Shipley has lost the plate in this inning. Worked a 1-2-3 seventh, but single, 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 walk, walk, single. Coming up at the conclusion of this one, Craig Minervini and Jeff Nelson on the WB Mason Marlins Live postgame show. Brian Anderson once again with runners in scoring position. A big 2-run double in the 4th inning. A 3-run 4th. They have scored 4 here in the 8th. We'll hear from Don Mattingly. Certainly hoping that it's after a Marlins victory. They lead it by 6. 2-1 to Shuck. Steckenrider looks to be loosened up, and it might be Whitgren that gets the 9th inning. Cut on and missed. Strike 3. And finally, the Diamondbacks get the first out of the 8th. And in steps Brian Anderson. Another 2-hit effort tonight. A single in the 3rd and a 2-run double in the 4th. Marlins in control here against the Diamondbacks. The Phillies currently trailing the Yankees 4-1 in a 2009 World Series rematch at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. The Mets are trailing the Pirates 5-4 at home in the bottom of the 8th inning right now. The Washington Nationals, that game has just gone final across the state in St. Pete. 11-0 Rays over the Nationals. Gio Gonzalez did not last long in that one. An inning plus, 6 earned and 5 walks in that ball game.
Sounds like control issues.
Certainly.
Brian Anderson not too happy about it. A couple of hits tonight, both going the other way. He's going to have to work out here with one out in the 8th. Absolute rocket off of Shipley last time up, lined out to left.
Elsewhere in the National League East, the Braves up on the Reds 2-0. That one's in the top of the 4th inning. They sat through a little bit of a delay at SunTrust Park. The Braves up. Red hot Reds right now in the dirt. Mathis blocks that one. You asked me a question yesterday on the plane as you were working and I was trying to sleep. Who was the best offense in baseball in June? Were those the parameters?
Of late, yes, it was of June. Yep,
You said I'll give you a
quiz show.
5 guesses.
I like to play quiz show when everybody's falling asleep. Guess this team.
I think I got it on 3rd or 4th.
You
guess.
did. You got it on your 4th try. Best offense rolling right now is the Cincinnati Reds. You're absolutely right.
Anderson to Jay in left for the 2nd out. Can I confess something?
What do you got?
I was trying to sleep at some point on the plane last night. Late night getting in.
Right.
1000% the truth. I waited until after the big cookie.
What do you mean?
I waited. I stayed up. I was
you're
heavy
staying up for the
eyelids,
cookie.
but I wanted the cookie before I actually
Yeah.
closed my eyes.
It's understandable.
Yeah, it's a good cookie.
Fresh baked.
Oh, it's a good cookie. Very good cookie.
Well, Justin Bohr provided the response that the Marlins were needing early in this ball game after the Diamondbacks scored first inning home run. Kind of knew the narrative coming in. Diamondbacks dominated the Marlins in Phoenix, outscored them 21-4. 3 games felt like the numbers I just gave you. Felt like 7-1 each night. I think one of them was a little bit more than that. One maybe a little bit less. Point being, Diamondbacks dominated the Marlins. Well, got the Diamondbacks at home for 4 games. Boy, oh boy, have the Marlins responded tonight.
For the 9th Marlin to come to the plate in the inning. Pops up to the mound. Jake Lamb puts it away, but 4 runs in. It is 9-3 in Miami. Southwest, transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Buy Kubota. For information or to find a Kubota dealer near you, go to gokubota.com and buy your South Florida Honda dealers. Some scenes from around the ballpark tonight. Lots of runs on the board for the Marlins. They lead at 9-3 at the beginning of that. You saw second-round draft pick Osiris Johnson in the ballpark today, too. Officially a member of the Marlins organization. So congratulations to him and his family. As Miguel Rojas moves from third to first, and in off the bench, Yadiel Rivera. And Nick Whitgren is on the mound here in the 9th inning.
Whitgren is back. Good to see him pitching in his 20th game. 2.89 ERA. Pitched in Colorado, 1 game. First game of the series. Gave up a hit, struck out 2. His work there. Looks like he is back, ready to go for the disabled list.
He'll face Ketel Marte, Chris Owings, and Gerard Dyson. A called strike. Marte with a ground out, a fly out, reached on an error in the 6th inning. I think what's interesting about Whitgren is that, you know, he got it called up for the first time. You looked at the minor league numbers, and I think he had started well at AAA, and then he kind of hit the skids a little bit, and then it got called up. And when he came up, I mean, he was just about
12 scoreless,
lights out from the get-go.
Like
And went on the disabled list after trying to field a comebacker with his bare hand. A hot shot up the middle, had a little finger issue, missed a couple of weeks. And in scoring the 4 runs in the 8th inning, what it does for the Marlins is give Steckenrider another day, assuming they don't need him. The 6-run cushion here in the 9th. Another day. Bearclaw would pitch back-to-back days. He gets another day.
You set it up the way you want. It would have been the first time Bearclaw would have pitched in 3 consecutive ball games in nearly 2 years if he would have made his way into this one.
Brinson sent back and reaching, but can't haul that one in. And Marte takes a wide turn and heads toward third. Well, how many times have we seen that from Ketel Marte this season? A laser to left center field, and that is his 8th triple of the year.
Yeah, he's got electric speed out of the box. Hard hit ball all the way. It looked like he was tracking this pretty well. See a step in, but I think he had a hard time reading it. Talking about ball flight here. This ball ends up carrying over his head. Remember, the roof is open tonight. Sometimes you get wind currents, and sometimes that ball can kind of sail over your head. It certainly looks to me like that was the case.
And they'll test left center again. That one is down. It's an RBI for Chris Owings. He'll stop at second, and now it's 9-4.
Now back-to-back hits for the Diamondbacks here in the 9th. I mentioned the consecutive batters that were retired by this bullpen. That ended at 22. Of course, that was a couple hitters ago. This is another fastball. Up. It's not where Nick wanted it. So where Holiday set up that outside edge. He missed up and in.
Here is Gerard Dyson. Mathis in the on-deck circle, but David Peralta, a home run threat, he's got 15 of them, has grabbed a bat. He's on the top step of the dugout. Peralta didn't start. Just a day off as the Diamondbacks, much like the Marlins, in a lengthy stretch of games. So Torey Lovullo doing his best to get his hot bats a breather here or there. I'm sure he's hoping that his day off will end shortly. They can get Peralta up there. Juan Nieves comes out of the Marlins bullpen. And Steckenrider is up again. Thought we just left Coors Field. This has that kind of a feel where it's
roof's open, roof's open. I think that might have something to do with it. I don't know. I'm just kind of messing around. It does seem like there's some balls up in the zone. Good at bats by the Marlins tonight. Early on, both teams kind of grinding each other out. Long, deep counts. They seem to have opened up a little bit more here in the later innings. How about tonight? 30th game for the Marlins against the National League West.
And how have they done? Very well.
Well, they win tonight. They will be 15-15.
They took what, 4 of 6 from the Rockies, right? 4 of 6 from the Dodgers. Had a little trouble with the Padres, and trying to get their first win of the season against the Diamondbacks. But then after this 4-game set, sayonara to the West. They wrapped up the season series with everybody after the Diamondbacks leave town. 2-2. Did Dyson hold up? He did, says Tom Hallion. 3-2.
Well, everything went but the hands, it appears to me. Front leg, hips, everything started to kind of move forward, but get those hands back.
Rojas backs up for the big hop. The flip to Whitgren. And they get the speedy Dyson by a step for the first out in the ninth. Over to third goes Owings. In steps Jeff Mathis. And to the on-deck circle is Peralta, who would hit in the pitcher's spot. Mathis, an RBI single in the second inning. Just low, 2 balls and no strikes. Left center field. And Maben is able to track it down. That's out number 2. But Owings will come in to score. Maben covering a lot of ground.
Well, a center fielder by trade. Great break into the gap. Straight line, arm extended. Well, that's the key to this catch, is the line that he took in order to cut that ball off before it hits the ground. Well done. That is just outfield instincts on display. More of a line drive off the bat than a fly ball. Got to read the trajectory, you've got to read the velocity, and you've got to pick a good spot where you think it's coming down, and he did.
David Peralta takes low.
What is that, route efficiency? I think that was about 100% right there.
You know what? I say it's 100 because he caught it.
Well, it's 100% with 2 outs in the ninth.
But I'm a simpleton, right? Like I would totally agree. Well,
I'm just giving him some luck. You don't have to look it up.
No,
You're gonna look it up.
No, because now I want to know.
Well, you better hurry up.
I'm working on it. Efforting. Processing.
You better be efficient.
Let's see. Opportunity time is 4.4. I still don't know what that is. Sprint speed. No.
I did.
No, there is no more route efficiency, I'm being told.
Yeah, sorry, I dug you a hole that you can't get out of.
Yep. Thanks.
My bad.
Thanks, partner.
Well, it looked very efficient. I thought I'd mention it.
I'm with you. Absolutely. I mean, I'm with you. That's what I would say. If you catch the ball, it's 100%. And Peralta walks. Diamondbacks not going quietly. They get back to the top of the order. Here's John Jay. But first, here's Don Mattingly. And after getting up a few times throughout the night, Drew Steckenrider is going to come out of the Marlins pen. The Florida Lottery call to the bullpen, trying to protect a 9-5 lead here in the ninth. Trying to get the last out of the ball game. Pitching in his 37th game this season. Not a save situation with a 4-run lead. Runner goes, not worried about that. Peralta into second on defensive indifference, but 0-1 to John Jay.
Well, you're right. Her run average going down, down, down. 14 scoreless innings over his last 15 appearances. He's only allowed 7 hits, 12 Ks. He's made quick work of it. For each inning he has pitched over those 15 appearances, only 13.5 pitches per inning. We were talking about efficiency in Cameron Maybin. Wednesday, we have an opportunity to head to the outfield with Brian Anderson and talk shop a little bit. Spent my entire career in the outfield. He has made a seamless transition to the outfield, and we're going to see how he's enjoyed it. Maybe learn a thing or two.
You played how many years in the outfield?
12.
It seems like he's played 12.
He looks like he's played 12. You're right, absolutely.
He's adjusted extremely well. 2 balls and a strike to John Jay, who becomes a very crucial hitter in this ball game, and he is down to his final strike. And I say that because Paul Goldschmidt is on deck. He's been just about as hot as anybody in the month of June.
No need to see him again.
And Jake Lamb behind him if it gets that far. Lamb's homered in the ball game. We won't see either one of them. Yadiel Rivera to Rojas. And it's a Marlins win. 9-5 the final score as they take the opener of this series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. A nice way to kick off a 10-game homestand as they have won 3 in a row, taking the last 2 from the Rockies and the first one here tonight. They got into an early hole, but they fought back. Dan Straley settled in. Late runs. They'll take it. Marlins Live postgame show on the other side of the break.